Frankly, a lot of people think that we don't. If you start looking online, you'll find all sorts of blog posts about people sort of saying, GitHub for data, what a stupid idea, or people have lots of different motivations. And there's really good reasons behind it, and I think some of it is that it's part of what I said. We're kind of, right now, we're still sort of obsessed with visualizations, and if I had to sort of make a binary evaluation about whether humanity needs the tools that we're currently calling data marketplaces, I might say no, reluctantly, because I don't think that most people walking down the street really need what we're doing quite yet. I think that we can get there, but we have to sort of take a really critical, hard look at what we need to do in between now and that point. There's questions like, is open data actually valuable? There's a lot of people who really do think that because open data historically has often come from organizations like the UN, that it's not valuable because it's free. You can just click on it and download it. But that's a pretty short-sighted perspective. People add value to things that are technically free all the time. If anyone's drinking water out of a bottle, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it is a fairly prevalent notion that open data is something that is not worth the hard drive space that it's encoded on. And that's unfortunate, but I think that the fact that we're here at the Strata conference hopefully implies that we're working past that. So the next sort of thing that occurred to me a couple months ago is that maybe even calling these things data markets is sort of the wrong thing to do, because when I talked about all these different different takes on providing a way for people to find and get data and make sure that it's good, they're all totally different. You can't just say, oh, I'm a data market. It shouldn't mean anything beyond, oh, so I can get data from you. But if that's your only point of differentiation, you need to try better. So I'm actually sort of starting to think that maybe we won't actually even necessarily have a name for it. I think that we all agree that infrastructure for data is important, but maybe calling it a data market is like calling something the information superhighway. Like, it might just sort of become an irrelevant detail. The other thing about asking ourselves whether we need a data marketplace, and those people, the naysayers who say that we don't, many of you have probably seen this Henry Forde quote, and I think that to a certain degree it's really true. I think that we as technologists have an opportunity to sort of maybe look a few steps ahead. And we're not all going to be right, but I think we have to be asking those questions. So we've got this sort of land grab going on where InfoChimps has like 10,000 data sets and Microsoft has 90, and I'm not really entirely sure what the ratio means there. You've got a talent grab where people are sort of attempting to round up all the data scientists as quickly as possible. I congratulated one guy who I said he was a data scientist to me last night at the showcase. I said, congratulations on your new raise. He laughed, I'm glad. So people are trying to round up the talent. I actually think that we should probably start talking about rounding up the customers, because at the end of the day, someone probably has to pay for all this, and it's important to sort of have a sense of how we're going to make all this work from a long-term perspective. So basically, we've got all these sort of converging worlds where we've got open data and market data, and people are realizing that there's not really that much fundamental difference between the two spaces. And you've got all sorts of people who are sort of coming at this in a different way. And I still think that for the most part, we really need to be clear with people about why should anyone care.